Sharon Davis, you're standing behind a very fast-moving road called First Avenue in Harlow, but just here is your museum.
It is. Yeah, welcome to my Harlow Museum, Michael. Like me, you're probably one of these people that drove past it for many years thinking, oh, I need to pop in there one day, but never did. So let me show you around. Come on in. So this is our First Avenue entrance, which takes you straight into our gardens.
And this is like, as we're just going to physically do now, this is like the secret garden, isn't it?
It's absolutely beautiful. It is a secret garden. In fact, we do have one over there called the Secret Garden. But this here is the first of our 7 gardens. This is our 9/11 Memorial Garden over here on the right, which takes an awful lot of work in this weather. The garden over there on the end we tend to use for lots of community events or parties, garden parties. And then of course around there we've got our secret garden.
You have the Art of the Garden Party is one of the events you have here, isn't it? And,
yeah, the Art of the Garden Party every year now. I've done it for 2 years running and it's absolutely fantastic. We just really do want more of those events going on.
We've just walked in here and there's lots of seats. Can people just simply walk in here and sit on the bench and read a book?
Absolutely. This is a community venue. It's community gardens. There's no charge at all for using them. We really want to see more people with a picnic basket and maybe a couple of badminton rackets or some bowling kits just to come down and just spend the afternoon in the gardens.
Because it's their museum and their gardens, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is a community garden, community museum, and we just really want to throw the doors open more to the community really. So come on down.
Of course, here we are. We'll look back on this probably as the summer of 2018 and look at the grass, etc. You've got... does a lot need tending as an ongoing process, and if so, who does it?
It's huge. We currently have just volunteer gardeners in. We've got John, my head gardener. I'm very lucky to have found John. He lives opposite. He's recently retired from gardening and he's doing about at least 40 hours a week at the moment. We've got 3 or 4 other gardeners that come in and give us a hand, again all volunteers. But most work is obviously the watering in this weather. We can't water the lawns. John's in here from 5 o'clock every morning, 2.5 hours at least, just watering the beds, the plants in the area, in all the areas you see around the outsides. I've been helping him out every other evening with the watering, but again, we really do need some volunteers just to come down, grab the hose pipe and help us out with this. We're looking at least another 6 weeks of this weather. So we are desperate for some gardeners. Let me take you through here. This is part of our secret garden. Kids love this area. We're changing some of the plants now so that we're not having to keep digging them up every year. Staying more with all year round. Then we go through into our gin still. Now this is a fantastic area for picnics. And for those of you who are new to Harlow, this is one of the Gilbeys' original gin distillers that they donated to us when they closed down.
And of course this was iconic when they had the Gilbeys building opposite what was used to be the sport. Everything is used to be the sports centre, but you know it's actually featured in a website recently, isn't it? This is just...
I think they used to have 4 of them in their window. So as you drove past, yeah, definitely. And over here, of course, we've got our little picnic area.
Still not operating gin, I guess.
We're thinking about that at the moment. We're trying to figure out how we can reignite it. Now, what we need over here is desperately, we need some sunshade. Bob, our old gardener, bless him, went up there and put together a kind of a makeshift one. But what we really could do with is some nice canopies for this area. Around here, blackberries, raspberries. So again, bring down your little pot and come and get some blackberries and raspberries. I think we used to make jam here many years ago, which would be great if we could get some people back in here doing that again. This is going to be our children's garden here. John the gardener at the moment is currently sorting this out. So this can be an area where the kids can come down, do their own digging and planting. And that should be up and running by next week actually. So if we've got any young gardeners there, bring them along. This is another one of the issues that we've got obviously is the garden waste. There's an awful lot of it. And currently the way the garden waste works is myself and John take it down to the clock, down to the farm, the recycling place in the back of my little truck. But we're trying to look at some long-term measures, so we're cutting down the waste. So we've come up with a few ideas, but what we really need is a chipping machine so that we can take the trees down, chip them, recycle them into bark for the pathways, because the pathways desperately need doing. If you follow me this way. This takes us up to the rear entrance of the museum. Now the back walls, as you can see, there's been an awful lot of work going on there. That used to be full of ivy. It took John about 2 to 3 weeks just to get that off of that wall, because the wall itself is actually listed. So if we go through this way. This is one of my favourite gardens. One, because my office overlooks it, so I have the most beautiful view. And two, because it's just so stunning. The whole garden is symmetrical, the way it's been set out. And it's just such a peaceful place. I've looked out my window a few times and found people having a little snooze on the benches, which of course they're more than welcome to do. Aha, and here's John, our gardener. Hey John.
Okay.
Just in time.
Am I?
Yep.
Fine.
John, you're being recorded at the moment
Oh,
for
am I?
your Harlow,
Okay.
so I'm so glad you're here because you can talk us through the gardens as we keep going.
Sure. What do you want
So I'm just explaining the amount of work that you're putting in here at the moment and that you need some more volunteers.
to? Yeah. We've got probably 6 at the moment who are actually working. We have had up to 8, but unfortunately we're in the holiday period, so I'm it for the next month.
Yeah.
So we could do with probably another 6 or 8 people. Just to sort of help us out with the sort of general tasks, really. At the moment, a lot of our time is taken up with watering. As you can imagine, it's very dry. So I'm starting at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I told them 5. I've just put you back an hour.
6. I can't do 5. It'd be great if I could, but yeah. So I'm doing 6 till around 8:30ish.
What's the minimum amount of time you'd want from somebody?
A couple of hours, really.
A week?
Well, it'd be nice if they could do a couple of hours a day, but whatever they can do. I mean, less than an hour is really not going to work. So a couple of hours minimum. 4 hours would be great. Then we could sort of get them into doing an area, so we could sort of allocate them sort of, I don't know, 10 foot of garden and sort of get into a bit of weeding, etc, etc. So that's what we're looking for at the moment, and it would be great. I mean, all you need to do is bring along your gardening gloves, really, because we don't like giving those out, because, you know, it's better if you have your own gloves.
Induction takes about half an hour, and that's just a quick walk around the site, nice little health and safety check, sign in the visitor's book, and then really, it's very laid back here. You sign in when you come in, you go and find John. He's usually got a list of tasks that need doing,
Yep.
so that you can just tick them off as you go along. And that's it really. It's a really nice place to come and spend a good few hours, and obviously you're giving back to the community. So please do, if you do have a few hours,
I'd probably
come down.
pay them to work here, actually.
The only pay that you get is lots of compliments. Let's walk you around here.
You need me, or?
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
coming, keep
Yeah.
going. What else do we need regarding the garden wise?
Well, obviously we need to build a composting area.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the moment everything has to go off site, which was great when it was a council, because they had their lorries, they could come in and take it away. We have to cart it down to the tip, and you can imagine the size of this. We've taken something like 30 ton bags of ivy off the walls. So just to sort of uncover what you can see now. Still lots to do, a hell of a lot of work still to do, but you couldn't see these walls before, they were actually coated in ivy. So we've uncovered all of that. We're trying to get the infrastructure right, so you can actually see the plants. We're going to have to take some out to be able to do that, so you can see the sort of difference between one and another. At the moment everything's sort of melted into one. So that's what we need to do. There are pieces of equipment we'd like to have, but that's obviously expensive. one of the big jobs we've got is the yew hedging. I don't know if you've seen that. I think we had a quote in for around about £1,000 to cut that. So we're looking at possibly buying some equipment to do it ourselves, which we could do it from the floor. That's around £800 for that piece of equipment, but once you've bought it, you've got it forever. Yeah. So at the moment, in the past we've had it cut, and that money's gone. Yeah, you don't get it back. With the tooling, we can do it ourselves. It's a one-off hit, and after that, it's just a question of buying some petrol. So easy peasy then. But you need to make those sort of decisions.
Another thing we need is a water box. We're looking at recycling our own water now.
Yeah, that may be something more than just a water butt.
Okay, it's
But
getting bigger.
Yeah, well, if we're going to go there, we might as well go and do what we can. Now, that's expensive. It really is, underground water storage system. But I don't know what the cost of watering this garden is at the moment, but it's not going to
You
be
don't
cheap
wanna know.
because it's all off the mains. So we
And we
need
are
to reduce
meters.
that cost if we can. And the only other piece of kit, apart from the people, you've got to go back to the people bit, because nothing runs itself, and I can't do it all myself, even if I try, is a chipper, so we can put all the weeds and everything else and mulch it down. It can go straight in the compost then, rather than having to take it down the tip, yeah, like everybody else does. Yeah, so
And,
they're the sort of main things we're looking for. But the one fundamental is volunteers. We can't do it without them. We can't do it without the people of Harlow. So,
Let's take you outside to show you what's been happening with our recycled rubbish. Myself and John, as he said, we managed to get this pile all the way down, and then we came in one morning to find that we'd been fly tipped. So it was absolutely heartbreaking. We'd spent weeks and weeks. We'd also had an awful lot of work and a lot of help from the community payback team. So they came in over 6 weeks, twice a week for 6 weeks. I think we had about 8 to 10 of those.
Yes.
They were fantastic lads and lasses. So they helped us clear it all. We had one run to go, and we came in one morning to find this.
So this is fly tip.
This has been fly tipped.
there's a
At
lot of trees that are back there, which
Yeah.
have nothing to do with here at all. All these big trees at the back there were just arrived. Unfortunately, because when we opened the car park, there's no cameras there, you can't see. And
So we'd love some help moving this if possible. Obviously we will contact the council regarding fly tipping, but we never had it this size at all, ever. And it's just heartbreaking to come out and see all this all over again, you know. So yeah, just some of the work that is required for the gardens. A lot of it you wouldn't even think. I didn't anyway when I took on this job.
you're
I'm
a
a
museum
glamorous
person.
museum manager.
Yeah, museum person, not a garden person, and it's very difficult for people that haven't been working in a garden to realise exactly how much stuff you can get out of a garden when you start working on it. I used to run my own business before I did this, so I've got an idea what was going to happen.
As the car park, as you can see, is Harlow Museum's car park, so if you do come down for the day, free parking of course, except for around there in those spaces.
Well, hopefully that's going to be gone soon. Let's hope we can get that sorted.
Thanks, John.
No problem. Anytime, you know that. That's what we're here for. We need to promote the place.
We do.
Get some more people in here.
Some of the things that we've got in the gardens that we haven't even mentioned is actually we've got our own statues, part of the collection. Students love to use these. Now this is another thing that the gardens are used for quite a lot, is school groups and school bookings. So not last week, the week before, we had over 100 students in Year 7s from Mark Hall. They were a fantastic group. So we spent a whole day with us, working with the curator, making crafts in the gardens also, and also obviously it matched their curriculum as well.